Friedrich Froebel invented kindergarten, his garden of children, over 170 years ago. His Spielgabe, or play gifts, were the original educational toys and the first child development tools. Froebel developed his ideas about preschool education over a period of 20 years, from 1830 until his death in 1852. He drew his inspiration from the great educator Pestalozzi and other philosophers such as Rousseau and Comenius. Froebel's main contribution was to synthesize ideas from education, science, and philosophy with his own observations of child development. The materials he created were influenced by his studies in architecture and by his important work in the field of crystallography. Mathematics was more than an intellectual pursuit to Froebel, it was the language of the universe. He created toys for children that would allow them to experience the order and beauty of the physical world. Starting with gifts 1 through 6, children experience three-dimensional solids, whole forms of the physical world. With gifts 7 to 9, children experience two-dimensional shapes, the sides of solids, lines, the edges of solids, and points. The cycle of abstraction is completed with gift 10, the framework. This framework is a representation of solids made from points and lines. While this may seem too abstract for young children, the Froebel gifts help children to perceive the geometric building blocks of the world at a time when they're not able to understand them intellectually. Froebel created 3 distinct ways to play with gifts. He named these forms of life, forms of knowledge, and forms of beauty. In forms of life, children are asked to create something from their world using all of the gift pieces. This could be a bed, a house, etc. Adults guide children through forms of knowledge activities in which the child explores mathematical and scientific properties of the gifts. This could involve counting the sides of a cube, discussing the properties of a specific triangle, or discovering the sound a piece makes when it is dropped on the floor. Most types of math equations can also be reasoned out using the gifts. Forms of beauty are abstract designs made with a gift using just 2 rules. Always use every piece and modify, but never destroy a design. It is important not to dictate designs, but allow the child to create. If a child wants to make something new, he must find a way to modify an existing design in stages to arrive at the new concept. By playing with Froebel's gifts, a child builds a foundation of symbolic learning by internalizing these experiences. This is a natural process for every child. Froebel only sought to refine it. Why leave such an important activity to chance, he thought, when a prepared environment will better nurture a child's growing brain. In Froebel's Garden of Children, adults help children to explore the world in a concrete way, many years before they will understand an abstract discussion of art, nature, or geometry. The gifts were just one part of his total system, which also included songs and movement games, gardening, and the craft activities he called occupations. These various activities reinforced ideas for the 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, etc. Froebel realized that an infant's brain is still forming. He concentrated his efforts on children from birth to age 7. In Froebel's time, this was considered foolish, but he intuitively understood the mechanisms of the infant brain over 150 years before science could confirm it. Next, he understood that a child's desire for play was nature's way to help stimulate the brain to grow. The true nature of a child is that he is sincerely trying to make sense of the universe by exploring it. It only seems natural that the parent would give the child experiences designed for this purpose. Play is the engine that powers education. Froebel used many materials in his schools, but he only wrote about the first 7 gifts. His followers expanded the list to include materials he used in his kindergarten but never described in his writings. Because of this, the number of gifts has ranged from 10 to 20 different items. Almost immediately after his death in 1852, his followers spread to other countries and began to teach about the kindergarten. England played an early role in establishing English language kindergartens. The book by Johann and Bertha Range, A Practical Guide to the English Kindergarten, was the first guide to the Froebel gifts in English, published in 1863. In the United States, the Milton Bradley Company published Edward Beebe's book, The Paradise of Childhood, in 1869. This book listed 20 gifts. Actually, half of these should have been called occupations. The difference being that a gift can be returned to its original form, while an occupation craft activity such as painting or folding paper cannot be undone. It was good business to have more gifts, so Milton Bradley encouraged many variations on the gifts. He even placed alphabet letters on the blocks, which is completely against Froebel's plan. Next came Maria Kraus-Bolte's kindergarten guide. She outlined 13 gifts in Volume 1 and 11 occupations in Volume 2. The extra numbers came from the various versions of Gift 8, connected slat, straight sticks, curved sticks. In 1882, Hermann Goldammer's German language book, The Kindergarten, was published in English. The main contribution by Goldammer was the inclusion of the curvilinear gift he called 5B. He correctly understood that Froebel had not intended the gift series to be closed, but to function along certain parameters. Elizabeth Harrison's book, The Kindergarten Building Gifts, promoted the curvilinear series developed by Belle Woodson and used in the Chicago Kindergarten College. The simplicity of the gifts and confusion about them led to their misuse as busy work or simply as manipulatives. Many kindergarten teachers use the gifts by rote, dictating their use to the 4- and 5-year-olds in their care. It was the ignorance and rigid adherence to incorrect techniques that ultimately contributed to the abandonment of the Froebel kindergarten. Today, Froebel is mostly known for his effect on modern art and architecture through the work of Frank Lloyd Wright or Buckminster Fuller. The educators of the early 20th century saw Froebel's work as part of the German Romantic movement, or worse, as some mystical quasi-religion. Because of their unfortunate lack of vision and understanding, the true power of Froebel's work was lost. The most amazing thing about Froebel's gifts is that they are not absolutely necessary to follow his method. The idea behind the gifts is focus play. This could be done with materials acquired from a nature walk or with everyday household objects. There is nothing mystical about the gifts, as so many educators misunderstood. It is about a trained adult guiding a child to form connections in their mind regarding the nature of the physical world. The adult gently helps the child to experience and understand these fundamental ideas. In this way, the child can put their new ideas into a context. This is Froebel's goal, the understanding by the child of the logic and interconnectedness of the universe. All future information can be put into the right context or framework. His method allows children to form the outline of future knowledge before they are asked to fill it with otherwise meaningless facts. Children are not empty containers waiting for information to be poured in. It is more important in this age of the Internet to know how information fits together than to memorize the facts themselves. The foundation of Froebel's philosophy is that humans are creative beings. Unlike animals whose lives have not changed much in millions of years, we humans are constantly altering our world. Our superiority over other species is due to the fact that abstract ideas can exist in our minds. It allows us to become creative beings. We can conceptualize the vast universe or the tiniest subatomic particles. It is both a profound truth and a simple fact of our biology. The new millennium requires children to live in an ever-changing, technology-filled world. Parents and educators now realize that early childhood is the most important time in a person's education. Many believe that Froebel's kindergarten is still the most advanced system for early childhood development ever created. To recap, Froebel created his kindergarten gifts between 1830 and 1852. The gifts were part of a system including songs, games, and occupations. Froebel only named gifts 1 through 7. His followers created several numbering schemes for other gifts. Gifts 1 through 6 are solids, 7 is surface, 8 is line, 9 is point, and 10 is a framework for solids. The gifts are not mystical, but rather simple tools to stimulate symbolic learning. Play is the heart of Froebel's system. Children construct their understanding of the world through direct experiences. Humans are creative beings who can visualize new ways of living. Froebel wanted children to see the interconnectedness of all creation. We need Froebel's method now for our technological world. If you would like additional information, please visit our website at www.froebelgifts.com.